dog at the side. It'd be really nice if I ran over a dog. It'd be like the most evil person in society. Some little dog just like run over its tail. Say, you evil bastard. So yeah, I don't know. At the moment I'm talking about whatever's really coming to the forefront in my mind. So looking at human anxiety, how does that transfer into the genders, and also strengths. We shouldn't be ashamed to have a strength. Like if you as a man, if you're very good at something, you should work towards that. And if you're not good at anything, you just need to find something that you are. There's got to be something that you can do. I think at a base level we all have certain similar skills, and there's some other things as well that sort of unify the sexes, I guess. And there's also things that you can self-development you can explore, like empathy. Like if I watch something that emotionally touches me, I try to hold on to that feeling because I get this kind of warm feeling, and I think, well, that's important. That's important. I mean, if you've become very emotional, it may be that it's a very powerful emotional reflex, but it's not properly developed, neurologically not developed, so you want to develop it a bit more. Because basically a heightened sensitivity emotionally can also be an intuitive responses to things, and it gives you that edge, really. I think it's good that men are sort of remodelling their way of looking at things with like the MGTOW, and maybe women are taking time out to remodel themselves as well. I mean, I say MGTOW, it's just throwing away these terms, but it's time. I think there's times, a period in your life where you go a bit asexual. You know, you only focus on yourself. You have to put the love back into yourself, and then you decide what you want in the future. And I think there's a period of time when people just play around, and you know they copy what other people are doing and stuff. But the thing is, they haven't maybe got the sense to stop and say, well, this isn't right. I think I did. I mean, an example of that. I think there was a time when, say, my friends were experimenting with cigarettes and stuff, and I started making cigarettes out of and mixing up experiments. Like I was putting chocolate orange into roll-ups and all sorts of things. And I mean, I wasn't really into smoking, but I made some sort of an experiment, and then I started smoking it, and then I stopped, and I thought, well, what the hell are you doing? I think it was actually, I took some sort of sodium, I took a science chemical, sodium something, magnesium. It was probably good, actually. Probably helped me think straight. I put some of that in there. I swiped it from a lab, and I thought I'd try it because I had this intuition that I could just like experiment and do things. So I've always been naturally a bit of an alchemist when it comes to playing around with things. However, nowadays I take a lot more serious research into things before I take them any further in different directions. So yeah, what separates us fear-wise? What do women fear? I think they're guarding their reproductive side of themselves, their sexual side of themselves. They're also socially, they're all very much aware there's a timeline to it, so they're playing on their timeline. And for men, it's a hidden timeline because they feel that basically you have to change your opinion on what you fancy for men. Now, some men are already in that stage. They're quite happy to go with whoever, and there's some people that can't. And you know, well, I think to a degree there's limits to what people are into. Depends on their own perception of themselves and what they want to achieve. And then they've also got to look at your goals. Is it going to be, are you focused on a career? Are you focused on children? The problem is that biologically women probably want to have that family if they're even maternal, and the career sort of gets in the way. So there's kind of it's almost like the different personalities that are fighting for that space, because I want to be successful, I want to have finances, I want to be able to stand on my own, I want to be able to do anything. That's really what I'd like to hear from women. They don't always think that. They might think, well, I want to get my advantages in life, but I want to get it by certain means, and that could be through a partner. You know, there could be things. There's different mindsets that work. So it depends what part of the scale. You know, if you're kind of, you might see it as naive, or if you're a bit more cunning, or what's going on. But the thing is, you want something that long term is going to improve you, the relationship, whatever that might be too. I mean, for men, I mean, I pretty much isolate myself because so we talk about fear. I don't have a fear of friendship. I mean, I like to be on my own anyway some of the time, because I'm not pressurised to think outside a box, think in a certain way for people. I can just do my own thing, and I quite enjoy that mindset. So do I have any androphobias? I mean, some men, you know, I mean, I've experienced violence in the past, but I developed a way to manage that. I just practice martial arts. The problem is now I have a kind of it's not like the narcissist stroke sociopath, but there's a part in there that if the good side of me fails, the shadow steps in, and it's not really, it just explodes until I can put a lid on it. It's as powerful as my empathy. So it's, you know, basically, if it's really angry, it sees the person as trying to attack him or kill me, basically. So it wants to get very angry over that. But he's a learnt skill. I mean, parents both had sort of tempers on them that would boil over, and then they would become, I guess, different creatures to what they would normally be. So that's kind of yeah. I mean, some other stuff that's crazy. You know, some terms people like to have preferred terms, which is fine, but they have to accept people perceptually are different. You know, like some people say they like to say people with periods or something like that, and they said no, what, women, because womb men is women. People with wombs basically are womb men. It's quite simple. It's quite basic. We don't have to re-engineer the word. And then I guess the people who proxy want to be seen as women and say it's a construct, gender and stuff, because it fits in the narrative of what they're trying to achieve. You know, they're not going to say no because they're trying to turn themselves into a woman. But it's going to be a long process. I mean, until they're comfortable in their own skin, it's going to be like that forever. And then they might realise actually the problem is in there. It's like a dysmorphia of the physical form. It's just presented itself in a particular aspects. However, if they were the opposite gender, they still would be unhappy. So it's not like they've had a bad selection of cards that are played out for them. Like they're a female that wants to be who's in a man's body that wants to be a female, sort of, because it just gets so confusing. That's the problem. Yeah, so I was wondering if they have certain fears, like fear of turning into a man, what that represents. Oh, stop it. There we go. Bloody things keep flicking on. Yeah, so it's something to explore. Anxieties. I mean, I've had experiences where people have feared me, but I think it's because of my size and power, basically. And then there's projections of what people see on media and see in other forms that have made them fearful of men. You know, they watch soaps, they watch films where the worst case scenario occurs. So, I mean, both genders are capable of doing a lot of harm, and the issue of this rewriting everything is just get confusing. And I mean, some people might have to accept they might have, I wouldn't say necessarily the mental fitness may be not quite right. That's probably the best way to look at it. I mean, they might have conditioned themselves to think a particular way, but it could be that they need to heal themselves first before they decide anything massive. Yeah, I mean, I experienced when I was a security guard. I was walking my bike across the road. I was late to work, so I started speeding up. There was a woman across the road, and then she saw me come speeding up on the other side of the road, and then she seemed, maybe she was a criminal or something, but she started to walk a bit faster, and then she pretended to speak to someone on the phone. And then the phone rang. She's like, text something, and so it's like, well, what on earth's going on? So maybe she had a bad experience, and she thought this guy's going to grab me, he's going to arrest me or do something to me. But it just seems so stupid because the phone rang on while she was holding it next to her ear, and I was thinking, well, she's pretending to have a fake conversation. Just made herself look like a bit of a wally. I just laughed. I was across the other side of the road. I wasn't running behind her. You know, sometimes I get that when there's the slight social angle, we can't both go down at the same time. What are you doing? All right. I mean, we all get social anxieties. if I get surprised like a jogger and suddenly they go bang right behind me, you know, all these bikes and stuff, there's a natural reflex defense mechanism. So maybe that's what it is. It's a fight or flight response. And yet, coming back to what I was mentioned before, that when you experience these emotional highs, lows, and you know, any other sort of mood, is that you can develop it neurologically to have the correct pathway. So, you know, if you're afraid of violence, maybe you should do self-defense, and then suddenly it will gear you up so that you've got a way to deal with a situation that becomes hostile better, or you've got some sort of strategy. But you also want to be playing it down. You don't want it so overtly that you look like you've lost it. There we go. A bit of this, there we go. Bit in the bay like. So it's a human behaviour, I think, for my own personal development. I might be looking at things like neurolinguistic programming and skilling up on psychology. Language skills is something I'm looking at. I've just held back on that because of money. I think, well, I don't want to spend all this money because I don't want to get paid at the end of the month. But I think the idea for me is to get the language skills. You've got improved people skills. And then you can travel, meet different people, and then really basically spice up your life, really. That's what it's about. Anyway, this is Pigsy sign off, and have a great one. Bye.